Hello, can you hear me? Do we have a chat? Wonder if you can hear me. It says my microphone's working. All right. Welcome. Says I have one person viewing, two people viewing. Excellent. Mr. Cody here, live from my painting studio. Welcome. So really quick. Well, first off, I hope everyone's happy, healthy, safe, with their loved ones, friends, family. Hope everyone is doing well. I know that my girlfriend and I are doing excellent here at our house, and this is my painting studio. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a tour around the place here. So as you can see, kind of do a little panorama. It's basically just my spare bedroom we have in the house that is converted into my painting studio. You can see some of the paintings we're going to work on today. I'm going to prime this lovely canvas for you that I just stretched yesterday. Excellent surface. That about the same size, if not the exact same size, as a painting I'm working on currently. And we're going to work on that a little bit today. And then over here, if we have time in the 30 minutes that I want to stream, this is an underpainting for a painting of a picture of Cape Cod that I took. You can see some paintings here on the wall. I got a laptop set up there. You can see my janky cart easel laptop setup that I got going, where my computer is going to be. On the other wall over here, we have some past paintings I did just in a few years after college, and I got this painting here of out the view from my backyard that I'm working on, that I'm hoping next time I live stream I will really dig into that painting and work on some details, fix the lighting. Yeah, got another landscape painting over here that I did down in Westchester, live on the spot at I think it was called, can't quite remember, maybe Stroud Park, National Park, little tree radio tower. Got my light set up. I got my little tower of paint going here, organized by different colors. I can't forget the surround sound music system we got going here. Got to have my tunes while I paint. And then over here is my table. Can you all see this? Kind of just holding my laptop in front of you. So originally I was going to do from my phone and from another laptop as well, but it just seemed like a little too much, and my phone couldn't work because our YouTube channel isn't eligible, something like that. So I'll talk to Miss Shannon or Mr. Marone, and we'll figure that out for in the future. But this works for now. I'm using my Chromebook currently. So as you can see, I absolutely love and adore brushes. Brushes. I am obsessed with brushes. I love brushes. Here's some tiny brushes, and here's some bigger brushes. So as you can see, I, over the years, have bought lots and lots of brushes. I like to take care of them. Sometimes I'll buy really nice brushes and use those. Sometimes I'll buy really crappy brushes and use those once and then just chuck them, depending on what I'm painting. But you can see here, I mainly paint with oil paint, which means I can't use water to clean my brushes or dilute the paint, thin it out, make glazes and stuff. I have to use what's called mineral spirits, or turpentine is like the stuff. So I buy this at Home Depot. A big can of this is actually pretty cheap. I think it's only like $9 or something, but it works wonderful. Just what I need to do to thin out the paint and clean my brushes. What's nice with oil paint too is you have lots of other different mediums. So today, hopefully when I get to my ceiling fan painting, I'll show you a little bit usage of linseed oil, which is really great. It kind of helps the paint glide much smoother. Now, I've talked to some of my students before about oil paint. We were actually just going to start an oil painting landscape project for my Painting 2 students with oil paint, because it's something that I know most of you have never used before. But so that's why I'm kind of talking you through this here. So I've got separate jars of mineral spirits. Here, hold on. Here we go. Separate jars of mineral spirits. And then I have linseed oil. It's great. And then I have stand oil, which is essentially very similar to linseed oil, but it's a little stickier and it's much thicker. You can kind of see it moving around inside the tube there, right? It's kind of kind of cool. And then I have some random mediums here I've kind of collected over the years that I just kind of find in thrift stores or whatever. This old Utrecht Japan dryer. Not even really sure. It's supposed to help my oil paint dry faster because oil paint, unlike acrylic paint, dries incredibly slow. So if you have really thick oil paint, such as this painting here, you can see just how thick the paint is. That took probably several weeks to dry, if not like 2 to 3 weeks to dry over a period of time. So then I also, in addition, I have some palette knives. I use these to mix paint. I will show you how to do that on my palette over here. Yeah, let's come over here to my palette. So my palette, my janky IKEA cart stacked with the milk crate, stacked with the pane of glass. Now, I like to use a pane of glass, and I kind of learned this in college, because you can scrape it off with a razor blade afterwards. So all this built up paint is from over the last few weeks I've been painting. And I'm kind of still using these colors because most of these colors are what I'm using for my ceiling fan here. So you can see all the gray tones and the mixing I'm doing. So I'll show you a little bit of that in a little bit. Oh, I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. How am I doing, everybody? I've never live streamed before. I hope this is cool. Hope you're all enjoying it. It's kind of strange not being able to interact with you or like hear what you're saying. I wonder if there's a chat. Isn't there normally a chat when you live stream? Huh. Anyway, so today what we're going to do, what I want to do is I'm going to prime this canvas right here. That's good. And when I say prime, I mean add what's called, and I've done this with some of you students before, gesso. Studio Series gesso. Basically, this is like white paint that's a primer, like you prime your house walls with, right? You want to lay down that primer or that gesso first to seal up your canvas. That way your paint doesn't sink through. Now, there have been several artists in the past in contemporary and modern art that have kind of used the absorption of the paint into the canvas as part of their technique and a part of their style. For instance, Helen Frankenthaler or Diebenkorn, Richard Diebenkorn, which I actually have a book of his over here that's wonderful. I should show you that sometime. So first thing we want to do, here actually. So yesterday I stretched this. There are, give me 1 second. These are called stretcher bars. You can buy them at Dick Blick, Utrecht, AC Moore, any of your art supply stores. And they have these corners that, if you can kind of see, they kind of wedge into each other. So you kind of build it, construct it, and the edge is, you can see that slight curve towards the edge right here. That bevel, that's where my canvas rolls over, right? We don't want that to be too sharp because then it'll actually cut my canvas fabric if I stretch it too tight. But it's a nice sloped curve, as you can see from the side, just ever so slightly, nice and soft. That way it stretches around but has no contact with the actual surface bar of the wood, just that very edge, right? So I have my stretched canvas, pulled it around. I normally use a staple gun, but I left my staple gun at the school. So I had to make do with what I had. I had carpet tacks. So you can see I hammered them in, stretching that canvas around the surface of my canvas, hanging on my wall. Now it's stretched. You can see it's kind of tight. I don't know if you can hear that. Deep bellowing, it's kind of like a drum. So what we want to do is I'm going to wipe this off. I'm actually going to use a clean brush. I know this doesn't look that clean, but trust me, it is. And we're going to wipe down the surface a little bit, trying to clear off all the dust and dirt, because as you can see, maybe before, my carpet here, it's very dirty. And that's where I stretched it on the floor, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe this down, kind of brush it off, just make sure it's nice and clean. Get any dust and dirt off of it. And now I'm going to crack open my gesso. And let's see if you can hear. Oh, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Can you see inside that? Yeah, that's nice. Right, we're going to get my bucket of gesso and we're going to get, not that one. Here we go. Paint mixer, right? And we're going to stir this up. Now, kids in my class all the time tell me or ask me, Mr. Cody, why does this paint smell so bad? Why does this acrylic paint smell like the bathroom? And I say, well, paint and primer, likewise, is made up of two different parts, right? We have what's called our pigment, which is the color, which in this case is the white, right? This kind of brilliant, bright white. There's all different kinds of white, but this is supposed to be as neutral as possible of a white because it's supposed to just be that primer for other color to have vibrancy over top of, you know. So two parts of paint. There's pigment, the color, and there's also what's called the binder. Now, in acrylic paint and primer, it's essentially like liquid plastic because we want it to dry relatively fast and we want it to fill in all the pores of my canvas. We want it to really seep into the surface here and dry to make a nice smooth surface. That way our paint can sit on top of the surface instead of soak through and come through the back. So what I need to do over time, the reason paint can smell bad is because those two aspects or properties of the paint start to separate and they get strange and they start to do different things and they preserve much better when they are mixed together. So with my gesso here, I am mixing it up to get it a nice consistency. Then I'm going to take my gesso brush, normal ordinary synthetic bristle house brush, and we're going to go ahead and wipe off my mixing stick, rod. I don't know what to call that. All right, so load up my brush with some gesso. Now, we're going to do a few different coats over the span of the next 20-30 minutes here on this because one coat of gesso will not be enough to get this surface the way we want it. So what I'm going to do, mix here on my brush, I'm going to load up my brush with lots of gesso, right? And my first round, I'm going to kind of scrub the gesso into the surface. Now you can see I had a lot of gesso on my brush, and that's all that's happening because if you get real close here, you can see it. It's really seeping into the surface, right? So we are going to scrub this gesso into the surface of my canvas because we really want it to sink in there as much as possible on my first pass before we start to build up layers, give it the texture of smoothness that we want. Also, sometimes you don't use the best kinds of brushes. We're going to get our hands dirty and my bristles come off on the canvas. So you want to make sure that you don't scrub too hard like I just did and destroy your brushes trying to gesso and prime your canvases. So in my studio, I do lots of different kinds of painting. I know that for most of my students at the beginning of the semester, I show you my website to show you the range of paintings and kind of my experience thus far. That way you know where I'm coming from as an artist and how I can show you as best I possibly can the skills and techniques that I have acquired or used over time. And so we get very messy or we get very clean. So today I'm wearing just, a normal sweater and I've got my painting apron. Now, sometimes we get really messy, like that really thick painting I showed you earlier. We wear my onesie and you can see there's all sorts of materials all over this. And that's why I had plastic laid down and actually stapled to my floor as well, because I don't want all that gross materials, especially oil-based materials. They can be really hard to clean up because you need mineral spirits. You need that turpentine and cloth to really scrub it out and scrape it off of surfaces. So I stretched down plastic, but you can see like I get paint all over the walls in here and stuff. It is what it is. So I'm about a third of the way through scrubbing this in. And So where you're standing, it might look like it's totally filled in white, right? But if I'm looking right here, I can still see some of that paint wants to sit on the surface instead of really scrubbing into and absorbing into the canvas. So I'm going to really try and work that gesso, especially this first layer here. I'm going to really work this gesso into the canvas. Oh, got another bristle. So as you can see, actually, you can start to see this, right? Over here on this side, you can still see some of the wrinkles from where I stretched my fabric. But as the wet gesso, the wet primer sinks into the surface over here, it stretches it, right? Because that the fabric wants to tighten and it stretches out and actually tightens around because of the fabric material. When it soaks up that moisture, it wants to stretch and tighten, and that's when it will dry then after it stretches out and get that nice tight canvas that's stretched around my stretchers. How are we doing? You're all there with me? It says 9 people are here with me. I wonder who else is watching. I wonder if my mom's watching. I told her I was going to do this, but I don't know if she's tuning in or not. Oh, maybe I got a text message. Shannon said, oh, I got a text message from Shannon. Oh, she said the chat is up. Not sure if you can see it. Not currently. Yeah, I don't know how to pull that up. Maybe if someone sends a message, it'll pop up on my computer. I don't know. Wish I could show you what I'm looking at here. So again, we're working this gesso just into the surface. Don't worry, if you're bored, we're going to actually get to some real painting like this painting over here very soon, once I'm done this layer. Hey, I want to give a huge shout out to those students who have actually done the assignments I've sent them. I know that I don't have an online Edgenuity curriculum per se, but I have been sending assignments every day that I would normally see you in class. I've been sending out emails and also the same messages on Google Classroom, the one that we joined at the beginning of the semester. And I want to give a big shout out to those students who have actually participated and done your sketchbook assignments, watched some of the videos I've posted. I really, really appreciate it. And the things you have drawn and created thus far are absolutely gorgeous. So thank you. Really appreciate it. And I hope that those students are tuning in right now. Almost there. Almost there. This might seem like a tedious process. And a lot of painting, a lot of what painting is patience. I think patience is the biggest virtue you can have in painting, especially working with oil paint, because the paint dries so slowly. And it's all about building up those continuous layers and really honing in. I'm really sounding like Bob Ross right now. Maybe I need to get like a big afro going. Squirrel friend. Hey, there is a thrift store that was auctioning stuff off live on Instagram the other day, and they were auctioning off a taxidermied squirrel. And I almost got it just to say I had a little squirrel buddy like Bob Ross, but they were asking like way too much money for it. So I didn't get it, but I just got a message from Miss Alice saying, give a shout out to Jen Frederick at Fox 29. I'm not sure why. Miss Alice says she's watching me while she's doing a quick exercise. So we're almost done this canvas. Almost done. So again, yeah, shout out to Jen Frederick. I'm not sure who you are, but I think you might be tuning in from Fox 29. That's excellent and wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, that looks like a good pass. Right on. So if we get up real close, let's see if we can get really close. I don't even know if you can see this. And then I got paint on my computer. But there's still the texture of the canvas coming through the gesso. And what we're going to work towards is not eliminating that texture outright, but really softening it and smoothing it out. That way our paint will be able to just glide over the surface and we can really work with it. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe down my brush here real quick. Move my gesso over here. All right. So my other, I don't know, I think I showed you this already, but I have my, this is a travel easel when I go landscape painting, but I have it set up on top of a TV dinner table stand on top of a rolling rack here. So that's what our setup looks like today. It's quite janky, but quite makeshift. But let's see if we can get a good angle here. All right. So it looks like I'm getting a bad glare. Let's see if we can close this a little bit. Oh, yeah. Is that a glare better or worse now? It still isn't great. Let's see if I can come over to this side. I'm going to switch with my painting cart really quick. Oh, actually, you know what we're going to do? That's exactly what we're going to do. The painting studio is very modular right now. We're making it work. We're making it work. Hey, this is great. Okay, cool. So I have my painting cart right in front of my computer set. That way, what we can do here is actually angle it down. And I can show you while I'm mixing colors.